Hey, it's Nancy. Before we begin today, I just wanted to let you know that you can listen to Crime Beat early and ad-free on Amazon Music, included with Prime.
A listener's note. The following episode contains coarse language, adult themes, and content of a violent and disturbing nature, and may not be suitable for everyone. Listener discretion is advised.
A suspect in the disappearance of a young Calgary mother and her little girl was questioned for 24 hours, but police didn't have enough evidence to charge him. Robert Leeming was released. Not only was there no sign of Jasmine Lovett or Aaliyah Sanderson, all of the footprints of life had stopped 10 days earlier. As police raced against the clock hoping they would be found safe, growing evidence showed that was unlikely.
This is when things start taking a turn. Once you see that, things go from, I hope she's alive, to I hope we can find her.
I'm Nancy Hixt, a senior crime reporter for Global News. Today on Crime Beat, I share the investigative developments that led officers deep into the wild and forested mountains of Kananaskis Country and the disturbing discovery that followed. This is the conclusion of Vanished. I have a vivid memory of covering this major crime as it unfolded in the spring of 2019. Jasmine Lovett and her 22-month-old daughter, Aaliyah Sanderson, had disappeared. By April 26th, the pair had been missing for well over a week, and I attended an update to the media by investigators at Calgary Police Headquarters. I was reporting live when I learned that the suspect in the case, Robert Leeming, had been released by police after a full day of questioning. Leeming was Jasmine's roommate and former boyfriend at the time of her disappearance. The two had met just months earlier on an online dating app. The moment I finished my last live report, I had a meeting with my news managers. We came up with a plan. Now that he was released, I would try to track down the suspect to see if he would provide any further insight into where the missing mother and child were. I jumped into a vehicle with a photographer and headed to Cranston. At the same time, forensic crime scenes investigators were continuing their search of Leeming's townhouse, and he wasn't allowed to return home. This could be my only opportunity to speak to him, and surprisingly, I was able to find him in the area. This is how we reported it at the time.
As the search for Jasmine Lovett and her 22-month-old daughter, Aaliyah Sanderson, continues, the man police questioned after their disappearance has been released. Robert Leeming spoke tonight to our Nancy Hixt, who joins us in the newsroom. Nancy?
Robert Leeming confirmed to me that he is being questioned in connection to the suspected double homicide case. Leeming said he was released from custody Friday morning and he spent his day at a local pub, and that's where I tracked him down. How do you feel about this whole thing? I mean,
terrible, of course.
But to know the police are calling this a homicide, to know that someone has killed a 22-month-old child.
It's crazy.
But you're saying that is not you.
Of course not. Of course not.
When I asked Leeming to explain why his cell phone pings led police out to the Bragg Creek area, he told me he took Jasmine and Aaliyah to the area to drink and have a picnic, and said he brought them back to his home in Cranston that night. So then what happened? Where did she go?
I don't know. If you have tenants, do you keep track of them?
Well, you're in a relationship as well.
We weren't at this time.
Okay, so when was the last time you saw them?
Would have been Thursday around about 7 o'clock on the 18th.
From what we see, you're considered a suspect in a double homicide. So this is your chance to tell us what has transpired.
Yeah, it's pretty serious, right? But who says that they're dead? That's crazy. I don't know where they are. And that's the biggest thing is there's, if they were dead, then the CPS would know, right? But they're not. They don't know. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's anything to do with me.
It felt like Leeming was not being truthful, and it seemed unlikely he was going to tell me what happened. But tracking him down did give both the public and police added insight into the man at the center of the investigation. Here's Calgary Police Homicide Detective John Pearson.
So we learned Mr. Leeming ended up speaking to a reporter from Global, and just watching the interaction, the first instinct that came to my mind was he thinks he's beaten us. He thinks he's smarter than we are, is what I took from it. There was just an arrogance and bravado around him that I think because we released him at that time, he thought he'd gotten away with murdering these two people.
At that same time, details about Robert Leeming's history came to light. Court documents obtained by Global News show the man at the center of the suspected double murder investigation has prior convictions for animal cruelty. Court records also indicate he owned an arsenal of weapons, including 2 handguns, 1 shotgun, and approximately 60 knives. Global News has confirmed Robert Leeming pleaded guilty to 3 charges under the Animal Cruelty Act following an incident near Priddis last May. Leeming pleaded guilty to causing a dog to be in distress and failing to ensure the dog had adequate food, water, and shelter. I asked Robert Leeming about that incident. Even though he was willing to speak about his missing roommate and her daughter, he wouldn't say a word about his previous record. Did something happen with your family pet?
No.
Or was there something that you have an explanation for about something that happened with a pet?
No. No comment at this time.
But if somebody's capable of harming an animal, I mean, that obviously leaves us skeptical.
No, it doesn't. It has nothing to do with it.
There's a lot of inconsistencies and a lot of things that we ran into again where it just doesn't make sense. And the more you look at it as a roommate or as a friend, more and more stuff is pushing up against Mr. Leeming as being not truthful with us about what he knows. You're dealing with a very volatile man who believes he's already gotten away with it in his mind. Investigators
needed to find a way to get Robert Leeming to open up. They spent hours strategizing their next steps. In the meantime, other officers were going over CCTV footage taken in the days following Jasmine and Aaliyah's disappearance. It's really tedious work, but when officers finally find images to help push a case forward, the payoff can be huge. In this case, Leeming was captured on multiple cameras in and around his neighborhood in Cranston. He was seen tossing garbage into dumpsters at his townhouse complex multiple times over several days, April 18th, 19th, 20th, and 21st. You'll recall Jasmine and Aaliyah were last seen alive on CCTV captured at a grocery store, April 15th. Here's forensic crime scenes investigator Constable Laurie St. Onge.
I was secondary with my partner Jim Weeks. We were at the residence in Cranston. So the communal trash area, there was 2 of them, and there was a total of 4 trash bins that were ultimately transported to our major crime scene bay for processing. I organize what we call the public safety unit. There are a multitude amount of people who help me search, and I give parameters as to what I'm looking at from the scene versus what we're actually looking at for the trash bins.
Almost immediately after beginning the search, they found some items that caused significant concern for investigators.
So personnel start noticing some firearm components. So the condition of the firearm, it was in 3 pieces. The butt of the firearm, as well as the handle, that was broken into a piece, and the end of it was melted or burned. The second part was a forend, That was also burnt at the end. And then there was a small piece, a Ruger 22 laser.
Constable St. Onge found items she knew were directly related to the case.
I found a purse with prescriptions labeled Jasmine Lovett. I found pretty much a clump of shredded paper, and I started digging through and noticed something very distinctive. It was a navy blue and gold emblem shredded, but it was partially shredded. So I decided to start picking out the pieces of the shredded paper, and I saw the eye set as well as a name, Jasmine Lovett, and determined that it was a Canadian passport.
Jasmine Lovett's passport had been shredded and thrown in the garbage. Homicide Detective John Pearson said it was an alarming discovery.
Like the passport and those type of things that you shouldn't be throwing away if somebody's alive.
This is looking bad.
It's starting to look very bad.
But there was more. Robert Leeming was also captured on video filling up his vehicle at a neighborhood gas station on April 17th. A closer look at that video revealed disturbing images.
This is when things start taking a turn. So from the CCTV, one of the key ones we found was actually from one of the gas stations. We're able to capture Mr. Leeming filling up a jerry can. But when he actually opens the hatch of his vehicle, under the blanket, you can actually see what appeared to be the stock of a gun. Once you see that, things go from, I hope she's alive, to I hope we can find her.
Then, on April 20th, Leeming was captured by one of the cameras at his townhouse complex dumping mulch on the property. Further investigation by Constable Jim Weeks revealed that the mulch was mixed with shredded paper. You'll also remember from episode 1 that investigators found a receipt for gas and a car wash in Leeming's vehicle. That led police to a service station where they found footage from April 21st of Leeming filling his vehicle with gas and then going through the car wash. All evidence was pointing to Robert Leeming as being responsible for Jasmine and Aaliyah's disappearance. By then, word had spread to the UK, where Leeming's family heard he was the main suspect. They reached out to a high-profile criminal defense lawyer on his behalf. Here's Balfour Durr.
Despite Mr. Leeming being suspect number one, and perhaps maybe the only suspect, the police were not able to move on it. They didn't have enough to charge him because, first and foremost, they didn't have any bodies. And without the bodies, it's very difficult to know if this is a murder or something else, or whether Ms. Lovett and her child had just disappeared on their own.
But the defense lawyer wasn't able to reach Leeming.
We tried calling, sent a written communication over that wasn't retrieved from the house.
Days went by, and Leeming didn't return Balfour Durr's messages. But from the second police released Leeming from custody on April 26th, he was under constant surveillance. It was a little over a week later, and nearly 3 weeks after Jasmine and Aaliyah had disappeared, that two men pulled up beside Leeming as he walked near a retail shopping complex in his neighborhood.
Mr. Leeming was crossing the street not far from his house and was approached by two strangers.
The men said they recognized him from my interview with him on Global News.
These two so-called bikers had some physical pieces of evidence. For example, the shredded passport of Miss Lovett that Mr. Leeming had shredded a day or so earlier and had thrown it out into the garbage. That didn't just pique Mr. Leeming's interest, it convinced him that these people had something that he would be interested in and took him down the road of believing that they could help him. And so he in short order, trusted them.
If I ask if you're cops, you have to tell me, right? It's hard for me because nothing has progressed for 2 weeks. Suddenly, you guys are knocking on my door. You know what I mean?
The two smooth-talking, self-proclaimed members of a criminal organization assured Leeming they were not cops. They showed him a cache of weapons their group had and made a big deal about that, showing trust in Leeming. As they built trust and the covertly recorded conversation went on, Leeming brought up an issue that had perplexed investigators who searched his townhouse: the bacon.
Do you want to know why they're so pissed off with me? I put bacon in my basement because it's pork. It's the closest thing to people in the way that dogs react to them.
By now, you've likely figured out that these so-called bikers were in reality highly skilled undercover police officers, playing a high-stakes role to convince a possible murderer to confess. Here again is homicide detective John Pearson.
We need to find them, and that's ultimately the biggest goal is, again, holding that sliver of hope that they might still be alive. Is if they're alive, we need to know. And if he doesn't want to talk to us, then maybe this technique will work.
Belfordeur said it was a classic Mr. Big operation.
Although it's not really right to call it a Mr. Big, it was more a Mr. Little because it happened so quickly. But they were able to, in a matter of probably less than an hour and a quick trip to a bar where they had some beer, convince Mr. Leeming that they were bikers and they could help him. They went to this would-be biker clubhouse that the police had set up, and they had, they showed him an armory of weapons that were there to try to legitimize him. There were different things offered to him. We can help dispose of evidence, we can help you get away. There were different things like that offered. But the condition was always, we need to know what we're dealing with. So these two new friends he had made said, in order for us to help, we need to know what's going on. If there's bodies, we need bodies. If we're going to dispose of bodies, we need to get them to be able to dispose of them. So things like that, I suspect, convinced Mr. Leeming that these were not only trustworthy people who were going to help him, but he needed to take them to where the bodies were.
That's when Robert Leeming finally began to open up. Undercover investigators were shocked to learn that the young mother and child were not at Bragg Creek, where Jasmine's cell phone pinged on April 17th. Police believe that likely happened as Leeming disposed of her phone, which, by the way, was never recovered. Instead, Robert Leeming gave undercover officers precise directions to an area further west, thinking his new friends were going to help him dispose of the bodies.
So you head towards Nakita, like you're going to the ski hill. Carry on going for probably about 20 plus. So you see a gas station on the left. You go a little bit further up from there, you can't miss it. You keep going on Highway 40. And as the road turns up the hill, there's you kind of have to look backwards, and there is a little maintenance road. You need a truck to get up there.
The place he described is extremely remote in the wild forested mountains of Kananaskis Country. Local Albertans refer to it as K Country. It's over 4,000 kilometers of the eastern slopes of the Canadian Rockies, bordering the town of Canmore and Banff National Park. Kananaskis is home to 5 provincial parks, 4 wildland provincial parks, an ecological reserve, and several recreation areas. It became protected nearly 50 years ago. It is breathtakingly beautiful, and the raw, rugged terrain could be a postcard. I've been on many hikes in K Country, and it's typical to see animals ranging from ground squirrels to moose to bighorn sheep. There are also sightings of cougars, wolves, black bears, and grizzly bears, and happen frequently enough that there are often warning signs on various trails. Investigators needed to verify if Robert Leeming was telling the truth. As the covert operation continued, his new friends convinced him to hop in their vehicle and guide them to the site. This all unfolded very quickly. Leeming shared this information within just 5 hours of meeting the undercover officers. They continued their conversation as they drove, and Leeming opened up about another area of the investigation that they had found strange: the use of mulch. He said, quote, "Well, mulch is death, right? So it smells like death," end quote. Officers made note of his comment and kept driving. When they arrived at Kananaskis Country, there was fresh snow. They found the road, which was marked with a small sign. Leeming proceeded to guide the officers into the exact spot he had described to them earlier.
We're going to be an hour and a half out of the city. If we didn't know exactly where we're going, this would be an impossible endeavor.
In August of 2025, I spent a day with Detective Pearson and drove out to the same location.
So as we're going south on Highway 40, there's a service road just up ahead. Very difficult to see unless you kind of know it's there, so makes it very remote, very difficult to find. Even more difficult if you're not paying attention to exactly where you're going, and you can drive right past it.
So where is it from here?
So from here, I guess probably 300 to 400 feet up the roadway. It's fairly steep as you're going up.
We got out of the vehicle and started our ascent on foot. It's densely forested, and to be honest, it was extremely difficult to find the spot we were looking for, despite the fact that Detective Pearson had been to the location before.
Yeah, so it should be just around the tree and then off to our left.
We circled around for a while, and I held up my phone with crime scene photographs I obtained from the courts to try to match them up against the landscape around us. It was a very somber moment when we realized we found the exact spot where police had located 2 shallow graves a little over 6 years ago.
So as you can see, we're deep in the wilderness. You have the highway not too far away, but down here is where Mr. Leeming brought our undercover operators to. Mr. Leeming guided us down here until we were able to find Jasmine and Leah.
I should note, when Leeming first took the officers to this remote crime scene, it was late at night on May 5th, and officers used the flashlight on their cell phones to navigate the rocky terrain. As I stood in the same location in daylight, it really struck me how impossible it would have been to locate Jasmine and Aaliyah without Leeming leading the way. Like if he hadn't have guided your undercover officers without the undercover operation.
I don't think we ever would have found them.
It was a heartbreaking discovery, but also a massive break in the case.
This changes everything. This is the point where we now know that both Jasmine and Leah are deceased. We know that Mr. Leeming's the one who takes us to the bodies. We have zero doubt that Mr. Leeming's the one responsible for them being there, but we just don't know how they've deceased at this time. And at that time, we also had sent our crime scene members out to the Kananaskis area to start processing that scene.
Constable Jim Weeks was assigned as the primary forensic investigator of the Kananaskis scene.
There's a sign indicating hiking only and no overnight camping, no campfires. It's a time of year where the park warden advised that they wouldn't have expected to see anyone traveling that far because the roads, it's a gated, Highway 40 is gated after another couple hundred meters, and no, there's no access into that area for, I believe it to be through until the months of, there's a 6-month period where the road is maintained. And it's not plowed or anything, so it's locked permanently. He's gone as far as he can up Highway 40 before he's forced to now take a turn onto this cut line where it too is got a gate preventing vehicles from traveling up. But he's circumvented the lock. He's cut the locking mechanism at the base of the gate, and he's pulled out the post and tossed it to the side, allowing for his SUV to travel up that road.
As Constable Weeks made his way through the rough terrain, he was reminded of something about Leeming's vehicle that had struck him as odd at first, but suddenly made sense.
There's an area on that road where there's a washout from the glacial melt, from the mountain water that comes in the spring. And they've beefed up that section of road by placing heavy granite and big chunks of granite to cover that washout area, to allow for the washout to occur without removing that section of that road. And every time there wasn't a police vehicle that we had that could travel through that area without bottoming out the vehicle. So it was of interest because we have some pretty high vehicles, SUVs included, that we thought, we could go anywhere, and we're very aware of the speed. We're doing less than 10 kilometers an hour. And when you hit this little area of washout, your vehicle immediately, you can feel you've struck bottom going over this. So it was a good indicator for us, knowing that this section likely attributed to possible damages on his vehicle as well. His vehicle is a Mercedes-Benz. It's an SUV. It's a newer model SUV. And it was interesting being a newer model and entering into his garage upon doing the execution of the search warrant. He's got an engine cover plate that would be on the bottom of his vehicle, directly below his engine, preventing damage from occurring to his oil filters and anything that's the lower lying areas of the engine compartment. And I thought it was odd because this particular plate happened to be hanging on the wall of his garage, covered in mud, covered in dirt and debris. And upon inspection of the vehicle, there was no cover plate on the vehicle. And I just thought it was odd. And thinking back, that there's a good chance that in his haste of coming and traveling through this route, he likely bottomed out and causing that cover plate to be removed from the vehicle. So I thought that was of interest.
As Constable Weeks worked the scene, he encountered a fresh blanket of snow, just as the undercover officers had hours earlier. Though the weather would soon become the least of his concerns.
It's in an area where clearly the grizzly population habitats that and frequents that area. It's at that time of year, it was very, very cold and still going through a thaw process. Upon our arrival that morning, it had just received a fresh blanket of snow. When we first arrived, there was a high sense of concern for our welfare as well, because with park wardens being present, they told us that they were going to provide us lethal overwatch because there was a female sow, grizzly, 30 meters within the area with her 2 cubs. She obviously honed in on the smells of the decomposition that was occurring.
Forensic crime scenes investigators were also met with the scent of gasoline as they identified 3 separate crime scenes: a burn site where evidence had been destroyed, a culvert where some items had been hidden, and then the shallow graves where the bodies were located, wrapped in blankets and covered by branches, leaves, and debris.
It's such an isolated location, heavily forested, with indentations in the ground that were almost perfect for preservation of the body and just in general being able to not have seen it had you even walked 5 feet away from where the body was. Anybody would never been able to known unless the smells would have been a tip-off. I had requested from the arson unit an accelerant dog from the Calgary Fire Department to attend the scene so that they could help us with identifying what areas within our large scene contained accelerant. Willow, I think was the name of the dog, provided multiple hits to the area where she identified the fire pit was one. And of course, the location of where the bodies were found was another.
Constable Weeks said they recovered the charred remains of a child seat and stroller, as well as a partially burned children's book.
There was what appeared to me to be transfer stains, blood transfer stains in the book. The submission of the book provided no DNA profile, and again, because of the heat.
Police also found the same mulch Leeming had dumped outside his townhouse.
This particular mulch contained shredded paper. The same sort of mulch that we found in his front yard contained shredded paper.
As the examination of the 3 crime scenes in Kananaskis continued, Leeming was back in Calgary after guiding undercover officers to Jasmine and Aaliyah. They had driven him home to his townhouse in Cranston and dropped him off at around 1 a.m. on May 6th. He wasn't there for long. About 11 hours later, patrol officers knocked on Leeming's door and he was taken into custody. That's when police revealed to both the family and media that Jasmine and Aaliyah had been found.
Nancy, a devastating day for the victims' families and for our city.
It is absolutely heartbreaking. This was the worst possible outcome, to know that the bodies of Jasmine and Aaliyah have been recovered. Even though this has been considered a double homicide for some time, I think everyone just held out some hope. So really just devastating news.
Autopsies showed Jasmine had died from multiple blunt force injuries to her head and a single gunshot wound to the back of her skull. And 22-month-old Aaliyah died from blunt force injuries to her head. Robert Leeming was taken to Calgary Police Headquarters, where he was once again interviewed by Detective Stu Cole.
What was different about him is in the first interview, he had a full head of hair and a beard. And in this interview, he had shaved his head and shaved his beard. And his demeanor was a complete reversal from the first interview. He had no comment to make about anything. I presented him evidence, additional evidence, tried to appeal to his human side as to why this had to happen, and he had nothing to say about it. Regardless of what question I asked him, it was no comment. I want to remain silent.
Despite the disturbing details of the case and all the evidence gathered against him, Detective Cole said Leeming showed no emotion.
My opinion, yeah, he's cold, and he's a monster. I saw no remorse from him whatsoever. I mean, he was taking the advice from his lawyer, and the guy, he committed one of the most horrific crimes you can imagine. I mean, you got a little girl here, like a little kid. You got a child and her mother, and you discard them like garbage. It's a pretty heinous crime. And so, yeah, he's taken his lawyer's advice to not comment.
34-year-old Robert Leeming was charged with 2 counts of second-degree murder. By then, he had finally contacted high-profile criminal defense lawyer Balfour Durr and realized his new friends were actually undercover police officers.
He certainly would have known that by the time he and I first spoke. I spoke to Mr. Leeming within probably hours of him being arrested. You know, whenever we encounter one of these cases where someone makes a statement to the police, either because he knows they're police officers or because he doesn't know they're police officers, but undercover officers have fooled him, you know, it just goes contrary to everything that a defense counsel tells an accused, which is keep your mouth shut. You have no friends. The walls have ears. Like, don't say anything to anybody about anything. Yet, people cannot help it. They tend to talk.
Almost 2.5 years to the day after Jasmine and Aaliyah had vanished, the man accused of killing them was scheduled to stand trial by judge alone. As I mentioned in the first episode, the victim's family is extremely private, but they've given me their support in covering this case. In October of 2021, Jasmine's mother, Aaliyah's grandmother, Kim Blankert, spoke to Global News as she braced as best she could to hear disturbing details of their senseless deaths.
Jasmine was the best mom. She really loved being a mom. She was very kind, very sweet girl. We are trying to move forward and think of only positive things and happy memories and keep their spirits close and move forward that way. But it's been very difficult. I never heard her first word. I just really miss them.
On that first day of court proceedings, there was an unexpected development. With evidence stacked against him, Robert Leeming pleaded guilty to killing Jasmine. Details of his admissions are graphic and disturbing. Here again is his defense lawyer, Balfour Durr.
It became apparent to me, and of course Mr. Leeming, that his guilt would clearly be proven in relation to Miss Lovett. He said he just flew into a rage, and there happened to be a hammer on the kitchen counter nearby. He said he took the hammer and hit her in the head as she was starting to turn away from him. He said he hit her hard, hit her at least 2 times. She fell to the floor, but she wasn't immediately dead. She was lying there, obviously in distress. He went to the garage, took his .22 rifle, came in, shot her once, just behind the ear. And according to the forensic pathologist, that would have caused instant death.
But Robert Leeming did not admit to killing 22-month-old Aaliyah. So the trial continued for that count of second-degree murder.
The prosecution theory was that the mother was killed, then the daughter. And the daughter was killed so that he could make a getaway. He could say that they both left so that he could cover his tracks and they wouldn't have any bodies left to be able to pin him with the murder.
Court heard that as family, friends, and police frantically searched for Jasmine and Aaliyah in April of 2019, Leeming was in a romantic relationship with another woman. In fact, he texted her during the time period that investigators believed he had killed the mother and daughter. Following their disappearance, he spent the night at her house and enjoyed time around a fire pit in her backyard. Evidence presented at trial suggested the other woman thought Jasmine was Leeming's roommate, not his girlfriend. And as the trial continued, details of the strange forensic discoveries, like the mulch and bacon, were made public for the first time.
Like what happens in most of these cases where someone's committed a crime and try to cover it up, it's impossible. It's not like the movies. It's very difficult to think of everything that the police have at their disposal. He was covering his tracks and at the same time was speaking to media, to reporters, saying that, I don't know where they've gone, I don't know anything about the disappearance. He said that to the police. The biggest piece of evidence against him was, of course, that he took undercover police officers to where the bodies were. Who else would have known where the bodies were except the person who put them there?
And then Leeming testified in his own defense.
The defense was that the child died by way of an accidental fall off some stairs as she was a little toddler, hit her head, and it was head injuries that caused her death. Well, the judge found that Mr. Leeming's explanation was inconsistent with what the forensic pathologist said about how the death was caused to the child. In the end, the judge found Mr. Leeming guilty of second-degree murder of the child, and along with that, his guilty plea to the mother meant that he was guilty of 2 counts of second-degree murder.
Robert Leeming was sentenced to life in prison with no chance of parole for 22 years.
The judge, when he sentenced Mr. Leeming, said that he had breached the trust that Miss Lovett had put into him, that she loved him, and he committed the worst type of domestic abuse imaginable. In relation to the child, the judge said that Mr. Leeming had again breached the trust of this child who was loved and who felt safe in his arms, and yet he would murder the child. So the trial judge found in that regard, this was a very serious case. No doubt why the parole and eligibility period was set 3 years away from what you would get for first-degree murder.
The sentence provided some comfort to Kim Blankard, Jasmine's mother, and Genevieve Lovett, Jasmine's sister.
At 22 years without eligibility for parole is really good. Obviously, 200 years is not going to bring them back, but we're pleased. We feel that justice has been served, justice for Jasmine and Aaliyah.
Oh, it's been very difficult, especially the fact that, it's been such a long process for my family and I, but we're just really grateful today to have the closure that we do, considering that some families don't get this type of closure. We're just extremely grateful to be able to move forward.
Yes.
Aaliyah's paternal grandmother, Jody Sanderson, and Jasmine's mother left court feeling there were a lot of lies and holes in Leeming's story, and felt many details will likely remain unknown forever.
There's no explanation from him. Look at all the lies. Can't believe a word.
But Leeming doesn't react, so it's hard to know if there's any remorse. I feel like there is none. I do wish I did know a little bit more about why he did the things that he did, but we're not going to get that, and we have to be satisfied with what we do know.
Yeah.
And I think that the Crown, or the prosecutors, did an amazing job, and the Calgary Police Service as well.
That question continues to haunt everyone involved, including Detective John Pearson.
We don't have a why. We don't have really a good idea of what happened to have this all come to fruition, so it's hard that way.
Deep in the woods in Kananaskis, there's a special place to both remember and honor the mother and daughter. It's a tribute to the 2 lives that were so senselessly stolen. In August of 2025, Detective Pearson and I visited this special spot, where there's an engraved plaque that's attached to a beautiful evergreen tree. It all felt very surreal and somber and private. You would never find it unless you knew where and what you were looking for. The memorial reads, "Rest in peace, Jasmine Lovett and Aaliyah Sanderson."
This is one I'll never forget. Like this, I'll keep with me till the day I die.
I want to thank Jasmine and Aaliyah's family for their support of me sharing their story. And thanks to the police investigators. And thank you for taking the time to listen. Jasmine and Aaliyah's family has worked to raise both awareness and money for victims of domestic abuse, donating thousands to the Calgary Women's Emergency Shelter in their honor. If you are the victim of domestic abuse or know someone who is, there is help available. In Canada, you can call the Assaulted Women's Helpline toll-free at 1-866-863-0511. If you're listening outside of Canada, please reach out to your local crisis support line or call 911. Crime Beat is written and produced by me, Nancy Hixt, with senior producer Dila Velasquez. Audio editing and sound design is by Rob Johnston. Special thanks to photographer-editor Danny Lantella for his work on this episode. And thanks to Chris Bassett, the VP of Network Content Production and Distribution and Editorial Standards for Global News. I would love to have you tell a friend about this podcast. There are 7 seasons of stories you can listen to and share. And please consider rating and reviewing Crime Beat on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen. You can find me on Facebook at Nancy Hixt Crime Beat and on Instagram at nancy.hixt. Thanks again for listening. Please join me next time.